Hey, Faye Babes! I'm Aubrey.
And I'm Peyton.
And today we are firmly securing our tin hats and diving into the world of Crescent City conspiracy theories in preparation for the upcoming release.
Y'all, I'm so excited. So, of course, join us in this cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets.
All right. Let's do it.
All right, gang, welcome to this episode. This is the pregame to reading the book review, to giving the book review. So, anyways, we are so excited, and we were sitting around thinking about episode ideas, and we're just so excited for Crescent City. And of course, we've been seeing everyone's theories online, and we love a good reaction video. So today we are doing a reaction podcast, and we are going to be reacting to the Crescent City theories. But with that being said, there are going to be spoilers in this episode for all of Crescent City, for a little bit of ACOTAR. I hope that if you made it to the end of the last Crescent City book, you are kind of up to speed with some of this crossover action we're experiencing. And Throne of Glass, with the idea that we're going to be talking about characters in Throne of Glass, but not plot, because rest assured, I'm only at Crown of Midnight in Throne of Glass, and I don't want spoilers. So I'm sure you've heard the name Aelin before. We will be probably using that name. Not sure. We'll be using the names Nesta and Farah and Reese and Bryce and Hunt and Rune Dannon. Crown Prince. So that is just, if you are sensitive to that sort of thing, get on out of here. I'm sensitive to it, and I don't want any spoilers for Throne of Glass, but at least we know that these are possibilities, and they're theories. They're theories, guys, so none of this is fact.
All right, guys, we have a bunch of these videos prepped up. I have been saving them on TikTok. Peyton and I are on FaceTime, so we can all watch these videos at the same time and react. So let's get into it. This first one is from Rosie.
So if you're not done with these two books, swipe away and come and join in when you are. So you would have read the title, you know where this is going, but I want to talk about why I think Bryce might be the one who doesn't make it out of Crescent City alive. Or should I say, one of the ones who doesn't make it out alive. There's no way we're getting through this war with everyone.
That's fair.
We're going to start off at page 164 of House of Earth and Blood. Rune is thinking about his visit to the Oracle when he was 14, and the Oracle's prediction for him was, "The royal bloodline shall end with you, Prince." He continues this thought on page 273. Rune had truly worried about its meaning once, the day he'd learned he'd had a little sister. He'd thought it might foretell an untimely death for her, but his fears had been assuaged by the fact that she was not, and never would be, formally recognized as part of the royal bloodline.
Good deep dive.
Then on page 645, the secret's out. Everyone knows that Bryce is the Autumn King's daughter, and Dick and Flynn are really mad at Rune, and he thinks that he wouldn't ever tell them his own motivations for keeping the secret. That deep-rooted fear of what the Oracle's prophecy might mean for Bryce should she ever be granted a royal title. For if the royal bloodline was to end with Rune, and Bryce was officially a princess of their family, she would have to be out of the picture for it to come to pass, permanently. And then we get to page 591 of House of Sky and Breath, and Bryce has basically used her father's influence and last name to get Juniper a principal dancer spot on the Crescent City Ballet. In doing so, she has declared herself formally the daughter of the Autumn King. He says, "You purchased influence with my name, the royal name. You bought it, and there are no returns, I'm afraid." They have a fight about it, but then he says, "You are now officially a princess of the Fae. I expect you to act as such." So if Bryce was formally recognized as a Fae princess, which she now is, for the royal bloodline to end with Rune, Bryce would already have to be dead. We are taking this prophecy at face value. I know there are so many theories. I have so many theories about what royal bloodline this could possibly mean, which is really interesting. But for this, we're taking it at face value because Rune definitely has. Also kind of makes sense why the Oracle warned Hunt to stay away from Bryce, because if she's dead, there's no way he didn't go down as well defending her. Anyway, Crescent City, the war against the Asteri, they're basically going to war for what happens after you die, right? You're supposed to go to some eternal realm, your soul's going to live on forever there, but currently that's not happening. The Asteri are eating them. What if the end of this whole series is just Bryce and Hunt dying for basically everyone's eternal life, but it means they get to go into the resting realm together and be together forever?
Ooh, all right. So that's kind of a heavy hitter. So we have basically two theories in here. One is that generally Bryce is going to die because of the prophecy that Rune hears. But then also this idea that Bryce and Hunt are going to die together as a sort of conclusion to this eternal resting place. What are you thinking, Peyton?
I can see that. I mean, Sarah is really good at like planning out her books and wrapping things back together. I've seen it. It's like, whoa, that's from book 1. We're in like book 3. And the Oracle did play a big part in that first book. I think I'd be really okay with that ending.
Yeah.
In like the next book or something.
Okay. So I have another video saved that's going to talk about this, but it's on my mind right now. Sarah has said in an interview about this being a trilogy. Like it was originally, Crescent City was originally like bought as a trilogy. She's like, but there's 4 houses. But that she sees it kind of similar to ACOTAR, where the trilogy is Feyre and Rhys's story. And then
like Rune?
I guess. Yeah, and that the next book is just about Nesta. And so about the trilogy being Bryce and Hunt's story. Actually, let me find that. We can watch that one real quick because it has added stuff. And then come back to talk about
her verbiage was literally
both of these.
If her verbiage was literally, hey, Crescent City 4 is going to be just like A Court of Silver Flames, I'd be like, oh shit, like, wow.
Yeah.
Bryce is definitely dying.
It heightens the stakes. I mean, not that you can't continue on a series without the main characters.
It'd be hard.
I mean, ACOTAR did it. Throne of Glass, there's like 80 billion new characters introduced in book 3, which is actually like the 4th book in the series. But it definitely, it takes skill. And skill that I think, I mean, Sarah's biggest skill is her characters. But yeah, so let's watch that one real quick.
Okay.
Crescent City 3, and how many books are in the Crescent City series? Do you know yet, or can you share?
So right now, I am under contract for 3, but I will say that there are like 4 houses. So and each book is named after a house. So
so there it is.
But it's again kind of like that. It's like that ACOTAR feeling where, you know, these first 3 books are like Bryce and Hunt's story, but then there were a lot of characters walking by, you know, like you said, I could just follow them through
into the next room.
Yeah. Yep. And so
What's in there?
Yeah, but I kind of have like an idea in my head of who's next, but I'm waiting to see, like, before committing to that one. But yes, Crescent City will go on, and I have separation anxiety, obviously. It was meant to be 3 books. Now it's ongoing. Throne of Glass is technically ended, but is it?
You just freaked. The internet just like there was a disturbance in the force.
And I've said before, like, there are other stories in that world that I want to tell at some point.
Like
so,
next
like,
week?
The door's not fully closed to that.
Sure, it never is, though. I mean,
no.
Okay, so
I remember that interview now that you showed me that, and it did. Everyone was like,
crazy. Okay, because so if Bryce was to die in this book at the end of this trilogy, I think that would be heartbreaking on a scale that I don't think we've seen Sarah do before, though. That's my biggest hang up, is that, like, in ACOTAR, basically everyone survives or gets resurrected 80 million times. You know what I mean?
But the thing is, that's like we know she hasn't really killed off characters before, and now
Mhm.
Sarah is so hyped. I don't think
Yeah.
she's overhyped. I think the hype is warranted and real and
Yeah.
fair. But
Mhm.
like, I kind of am starting to think like maybe she's like, you guys didn't think I'd do this
Yeah.
and kill them off. And because the Crescent City world, they have that whole afterlife thing where you like,
Mhm.
she talks to Danica again.
Yeah.
Like they have that other
Right.
after
There's
the
an
world. There's a world after
Yeah.
that, basically.
Mhm.
I think for a lot of readers who aren't used to that like blunt force traumatic ending of a book, I think it'll be like an epilogue of them like happy together, and I think
Yeah.
it'll like really sum up everything. Really, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. And then who knows, maybe bring in some like Throne of Glass at the end and just like do a whole other
Mhm.
house. What? Because the last book is, what's the last house? It's in the front of the book. I'll just read them, what we've done. All right, let's look in the beginning of
Yes.
this book here. So we have House of Earth and Blood. They have like a
Mhm.
whole list in the front, so I just want to read them off.
Yes.
Okay. So 4 houses of Midgard. Earth and Blood, Sky and Breath, Flame and Shadow, and the last one is House of Many Waters.
Oh.
Who's the dude?
Tharian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like follow him.
That
Some-
could, because
Oh.
they're in this order. They're listed in the front of the book: Earth and Blood,
Mhm.
Sky and Breath, which is the order we followed. Then she had Many Waters, and then Flame and Shadow. So Flame and
Mm.
Shadow to me is like the perfect next book, even though it's listed last.
Yeah.
Aubrey, it literally says dragons and vampires and wraiths in Flame and Shadow. Like, I'm sorry. And we're getting ahead of ourselves. What if Aelin doesn't show us?
If you guys didn't know, there are dragons in the Throne of Glass world, which we haven't seen yet in the other worlds, really.
I'm sorry, but she'd be stupid not to. Like,
I know.
I disappoint everybody if that just doesn't happen.
I have very strong feelings about what I think is gonna happen. We'll save Aelin for a little bit later because there's some additional theories online.
Yeah.
I feel like, so before that initial first video, the fact that like the bloodline is supposed to end with Rune, I thought was more of a like abdicating the throne type situation. And then bringing in Akatar, I thought maybe it's like rearranging politics somehow, and like maybe some of the Fae are going to return to the world of Prythian, and like that's how, like, you know, like something in this like
Yeah.
mess of government, the Autumn Court is like the Autumn King is just not going to exist anymore, because Crescent City world is kind of like a weird mash of like different governments and creatures and stuff like that, and we learned that they're all originally Fae, and the
It's like
shifters
Zootopia.
like were Fae. Yeah, honestly, yeah. But because she brought up those details about how troublesome it was for Rune, in the thought that if that's true, Bryce would die, does bring a little bit of a new light to it.
Yeah.
Not that Bryce wouldn't also abdicate, but if she wanted that to be foreshadowing, then I think that foreshadows potential death at the end of this series.
I
And
guess we'll see.
because Sarah said that the trilogy is Bryce and Hunt's story, which means either they're gonna end like, you know, happily together, whatever, they're not main characters of the rest of the books like Feyre and Rhys, or they're fucking dead.
Or they're dead.
Or they're dead. And it definitely has to be an ending of their story. Who knows?
Yeah.
Let's get into the next one. Okay. This is from Miss Willa's book club.
Ooh.
Autumn King has a model of planets and moons and stuff,
Yep.
which seemed just like what Cassian noted in Akasif in Rhys's
And
office.
when Feyre noticed it too.
Yeah. And she talks about how it also has like the planets and moons and whatever. And they both are kind of like, I don't really know what it is.
I don't know.
But it's here.
Reese
But-
explained it to me, but I don't remember what he said.
Yeah, but the Autumn King says he's looking for patterns with that. So it seems like an
Interesting.
important thing.
I was going to bring that up too.
And that he's recording everything in the half-forgotten language that they used when they first came to Midgard through the Northern Rift.
Very interesting. That makes me think
on.
of when we were just reading Akasif, and Amryn is basically listening from Reese, who is listening to Nesta, and like recalling her experience in the lake, and the Kelpie
Yep.
is speaking the old language that hasn't been heard in 15
50,000
years.
years, yeah. Everything is 50,000 years.
15,000 years. It's like this number, 15,007.
Yes.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
So I'm just, and I think a lot of people are on this track, but I'm sold that the Fae from Crescent City, the Fae that
Yep.
are there, are from Prythian originally, because we also know that where was it? So they mentioned that the Fallen were made in Midgard. So the Fallen being the angels,
Mhm.
like, and the Maliki, what Hunt is, that they were made in Midgard by the Asteri. But the Fae, Shifters, and others came from their own worlds.
Yep.
So we know that the Fae came from somewhere else.
From the Northern Rift.
Yeah, from the Northern Rift through the crossing. So we know that. And even this one, again, it's like feels so
Mhm.
obvious now. But Bryce has a bunch of Dusk Court type references in this book too.
Starborn.
Like
Like
even
what?
her scent, Hunt describes as like the gleam of the first stars at nightfall.
Okay, hold on. What? I was not looking for that.
Yeah, and in the very beginning of the book, when she goes to get her nails done, and she's talking to the
Yeah.
girlfriend of Maximum, the
Yep.
guy who they're the vampire guy.
Max Tertian.
Yeah.
Yeah, who dies, yeah.
She does her nails in a gradient from pink to periwinkle, like the sky at twilight.
Why was I not even looking for that? I'm sorry, what?
It's just like such little.
So do we think that Crescent City is the lost Dusk Court?
Yes. And I think it came, I think for sure that that's like the Fae people that came over were from
Mhm.
Dusk Court.
The idea that her
lost
nail polish color is this like grand theory, that's like Taylor Swift level Easter
I was about to
eggs
say that is
bullshit.
so Taylor coded. But Sarah does this. Like, for instance,
Mhm.
remember? Well, like that's this. I was like, I don't want to give spoilers. The Farrah in the actor
Oh,
painter
the
dresser.
nightstand paintings, yeah.
And like that painting comes back later in the series. I'm like,
Mhm.
wait, I don't want to cross spoilers. But that's not a spoiler. This painting comes back later in the series.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And so like that sort of thing would be like, oh, like Bryce is gonna be like, oh, this is why I've always been drawn to
Mhm.
this, and this is why I look this way. Because Bryce has a very like her character, like Bryce is
Mhm.
one. I see Bryce more vividly in my head than Farrah, and I have
Yeah.
spent more time with Farrah than
Mhm.
Bryce. But Bryce in my head is just like, oh my, like I can see her.
Yeah.
And
Which Farrah is also most of the time first person, so you just are Farrah. Like I picture
That's
me
true.
as Farrah. But yeah, no, I agree. I think my biggest thing from this theory is that I actually think that the Fae came maybe, so this is how I would do it, is that I think the Fae type that Bryce and Rune are came from Prythian and are possibly this lost Dusk Court, right? But I think the Fae that like Theron is, and I know he's like like all the shifters, which are we learned used to be Fae, but now are just like shifters or whatever.
yeah,
That sounds like some Throne of Glass shit to me, because in Throne of Glass, the Fae have two forms. They have their Fae form and their animal form. And so they can shift.
white
They all
stag.
have like an animal they can shift into. So, and also Northern Rift sounds very Terrasen aesthetic than Prythian.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the fact I don't remember that from A Court of Silver Flames when they were talking randomly about like that map or the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the planets or whatever. Like
Mhm.
I don't remember that, but that bringing that up, that it was so minuscule, but just Sarah's like, if I need to bring back this later, I have
Yeah.
it. Kind of like, I'm putting this in this
Mhm.
book because I may come back to this one day. And like, here we are.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't speak the same language, but Amryn can understand. And we know Amryn is like 15,000 years old or whatever. Like, we know she's fucking ancient.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have any videos saved of this because I feel like it's just was more of a theory after the release of Crescent City 1 and less after 2 because 2 just did a billion other things with its time.
Yeah.
But I love the theories that Amryn was actually one of the lost Asteri.
Yeah.
And like that's what she was, and she left because she didn't like the like planet eating soul sucking.
Right.
shit.
I think we're gonna learn a lot about Amryn. And
Yes, I think she's gonna play a major role in the upcoming book. All right, let's get into the next one here. Sorry, I accidentally closed my phone, so it's gonna share in like 2 seconds. I was just like, I'm done with this. Actually,
I'm over these.
okay.
All right, I got it.
Here we go.
I saw an SJM theory on here that absolutely rocked my world right before I started
She's
my
so
Crescent
cute.
City reread. And so I
This
was
is
on
Emily
the lookout
Brennan.
for proof the whole time, and I think I found it. Spoilers for the entire SJM universe. Just in case you haven't finished it, like the video, come back when you finish it and see if you agree. This theory is Emily's theories here on TikTok. I'll tag her. And
Happy her.
I wanted to find more because I fully agree with this theory. So, in a lot of SJM interviews, space and time have been brought up together, and now we have Bryce traveling through realms physically, space-wise, right? But what about time? There are so many little tiny things that I feel like prove this theory and connect these dots, at least for me. But the hard canon that I found is in chapter 18 when Hunt and Bryce go to buy obsidian salt. And I think it's from Hunt's point of view, and he's just talking about salts. And he says, rumor claimed that the entire base of the Asteri's Crystal Palace was a slab of salt, that it had been built atop a natural deposit. Does that ring any bells for anybody? Endover is a salt mine.
Endover is
Mind
the Throne of Glass world.
blown when I read that. And then further, they call the Asteri's place where they live the Crystal Palace. What was the castle in Rifthold called? It's a glass castle. Said again, there's other little dots that I think prove this theory, but I have from the jump thought that one of the worlds, either Prythian or Throne of Glass, would be past and Crescent City would be future. And we now know that Crescent City and ACOTAR line up parallel time-wise, so Prythian is not the past. So I think that means that the world of Throne of Glass is the past. And I think that one sentence, that little tiny nugget that, Sarah's so good at throwing in there, I think it proves it.
Okay. Wouldn't it be so cool for Throne of Glass to be the past and like the foundation of all of this? Because it was Sarah's first book series, and then she just built, and then ACOTAR came out, and then so like Throne of Glass is like her baby. This is like I've heard her say like I am Aelin. Like I wrote Aelin as myself. Like Aelin is like that was my self-insert. Like that's my character. And Throne of Glass is her baby. Like that was what got her start, her I guess break. And so then she wrote ACOTAR and it was a success. And then Crescent City just kind of came along with it. And to be like ACOTAR and Crescent City, and then we find out that all of Throne of Glass is like the foundation of all of it. Because even ACOTAR, even at the end of Nesta's story, there are still questions where like, so what's across the like continent over there? Like there's still some like, wait, there's more going on here, we just don't. This isn't like there's more.
Wow. Okay. So I don't think that this theory is necessarily true, But I do think that it brings forth interesting information. My only issue with it, the Throne of Glass world being the past of the Crescent City world, is that Aelin shows up in the ACOTAR books. Kind of.
Right.
If y'all don't know, in the final ACOTAR books, I think it's in ACOWAR, Reese sees like this strange red star, and that is actually Aelin, because Aelin has a moment where she kind of like falls through these like 37 different worlds. And so I think the Crescent City, ACOTAR, and Throne of Glass are each one of those 37 worlds that Aelin falls through. But that like kind of syncs Aelin's time to the ACOTAR world as well.
Right.
However, I
Maybe
do
just
think
older.
it's super fucking interesting that this like obsidian salt and this salt
Yeah, Endovir
is
is literally,
connecting them.
and that's how Throne of Glass starts.
Yeah. So I do feel like, and like in Throne of Glass, a huge thing is these like ward gates, which are portals to other worlds. And one of the final BBEG type things in the Throne of Glass world is this demon from another world, okay? And where else do we have like these demon devils? Like in Crescent City.
And they did those portal things in the Crescent in the first
Yeah.
book. When they had to close all those things were
Mhm.
coming in from
Yes,
different
exactly like that. Yes.
portals. And everyone was like, this is literally Throne of Glass, question mark?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's very connected. The
Interesting.
Princess of Hell. I'm very interesting because the lore is different. Like the like hell demon princes and stuff in Throne of Glass do not seem identical to Crescent City, but Crescent City, at least Sky and Breath's parts are labeled by the different levels of hell in her world, like the abyss, the pit, the whatever, you know what I
Right.
mean, and doesn't get to those final bottom ones. So I think it's interesting.
Interesting.
I think I'll click on the video. I think we're getting Aelin, but I have caveats to it. But here's another little theory video, and this one's just cute. So that's art of Aelin. She's amazing. If you haven't read all of the Throne of Glass books, she is a character that gets introduced a little bit later in the series, and is the love of my life. I feel like there's no way that Sarah sets up this situation where we are teleporting and connecting the Crescent City world and the ACOTAR world and doesn't connect Throne of Glass. Like Peyton just said, like Throne of Glass is her baby. That is her child. However, my thing is, and I think that this goes towards the theory that Bryce and Hunt, or at least one of them, dies, is Aelin is not a side character. She is not, and I've told Peyton this before, she is not someone who you can just bring into the series and have sit on the sidelines. I'm actually very interested to see how, like, Reese does as a side character, but we did see it in Silver Flames, where he's major, but he's still not, like, he was still a side character of Silver Flames. I don't think you can do that to Aelin. I don't see that being possible. And I don't think Sarah would want to. So I think it would be very interesting if the end of this book, House of Flame and Shadow, has Bryce or Hunt or both dying, solves like the first conflict, like they solve the Astari aren't fucking with the afterlife anymore. We get this pretty like afterlife closing epilogue of Bryce and Hunt. But we also, or like the final chapter being that, but we also see that there's still a greater conflict to be solved, either against the Astari or something else bigger opens up. And that's where we start a new series with all of the characters being main characters. I want like Reese, I want Feyre, I want Nesta, I want Cassian, I want, Rune, any of the Crescent City characters that survive. I want Aelin. Like, I want all of them to be main characters in this like Avengers Endgame level combat series.
Yeah. Like Sarah's literally making the Avengers. And it is so cool. We love it. Cool. I'm for it.
I know. I know everyone hasn't read Throne of Glass, and I don't think you need to have read it for these books. As much as I'm like was trying to push Peyton to read it and other people to read it, I think it's going to be good knowledge to have. But I think if you're watching this video and you know that, the Throne of Glass world is out there, that you know that Aelin is a major player, along with, there's millions of characters in Throne of Glass series that I love and cherish and I want to see more of. But I don't think that we're going to I think she's going to cherish having ACOTAR and Crescent City together, but Bryce and Hunt and Rune need to remain the main characters of this series and have the wrap up.
I agree.
All right.
I'm interested to see the wardrobe crossover.
Yeah.
Because Bryce is like a little slutty and like in the hottest way ever, and very, as we've talked about very urban, and ACOTAR is very like Bridgerton vibe, kind of like just very fae.
They have running water, but they're still
in full dresses.
Yeah. So, Feyre can get it sometimes with her outfits.
That's true. But they have like balls and like
Yeah, they're definitely still period. I love all of the fan videos of like Cassian getting a gun or something like that, like them discovering social media. Like all of that. I don't know if the Prynthian characters are going to go over to Crescent City or they're just going to help Bryce on her way. But if and when they do, the possibility is out there.
That would Cassian with like finding a gun. Oh my gosh. And like Bryce probably has like McDonald's.
Yeah.
And like they have to hunt for their food. So
Cassian on a motorcycle?
Stop.
Oh my god. Obsessed. I love the ones where it's like Nesta gets KU. All right. Next theory.
Okay, I've had a bit of a revelation, and I'm really excited about it. First of all Sarah J. Maas Universe
this
spoilers,
also from Rosie,
especially
from the
House of Sky and Breath. If you're not done, swipe away and come and join in when you are. Okay, so we know that there's the 3 stars above Ramiel that all line up during the week of the Blood Rite. Okay, and these stars are Arctos, Corinth, and Orestes. But I don't think they're stars. No, not at all. Okay, so there's a few instances in Sarah J. Maas worlds of stars not being stars. We're going to start off in Akamath, page 435. Reese and Feyre are at Starfall. They're watching the stars fall, and it goes, "We were silent again. I studied the stars. They're not stars at all. No," Reese came up beside me. "Our ancestors thought they were, but they're just spirits." Spirits on a yearly migration. Why they picked this day to appear here, no one knows. Okay, and then we're going to go to A Court of Silver Flames, chapter 62, page 635. The mood hadn't been helped by a rare red star blasting across the sky one day, an ill omen. We now know, Sarah has confirmed that red star blasting across the sky was Aelin, making her fall through worlds from page 800 in Kingdom of Ash. So that's 2 occasions in ACOTAR where stars are not really stars. So these 3 stars that appear above Ramiel are Arctos, Corinth, and Orestes. Are they stars or are they spirits? Because in the other 2 instances, they've been spirits. And then I was thinking, what 3 people would appear once a year on Prythian to sort of check up on things and see how things are going? And then I remembered Thea and her 2 starborn daughters. But why would they do this? Why would they come back to Prythian to sort of look in? And then I remembered I remembered the prophecy in House of Sky and Breath. This prophecy is one that the ancient Fae have that says, when knife and sword are reunited, so shall our peoples be. And this is the Star Sword, or Gwydion, and Truth Teller, Azrael's knife. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that my understanding of the word our people from that prophecy are the Dusk Court. Half the Dusk Court are stuck in Prythian and half came through to Midgard and are now the Avalon Fae. And at the end of House of Sky and Breath, the knife, which is Truth Teller, and Gwydion the Star Sword have been reunited. And Sarah has confirmed that Bryce lands in Prythian about 9 months after the events of Silver Flames. This means if Bryce stays in Prythian for about 10, 11, 12, 3 more months, it'll be the Blood Rite again. And what's going to happen, those 3 stars, which I now think are Thea and her 2 daughters, are going to appear and see that they've been reunited.
Dude, why are people so smart? Like,
Why are they so
she
dedicated?
an honorary doctorate just for like.
Okay, that
Sounds good. End of
she
podcast.
pulled out the fucking receipts.
She has
Um,
books stacked up on books.
yes, I like that. The only I like it being the Starborns. I think it would also make a little bit of sense if it was the Astari checking in. And they could also possibly be checking in on Amryn, but I don't know why it would only be 3, because I think there's more than 3 Astari.
But didn't they say that it was? Wait, are you talking about the Starborn?
She's suggested that those stars are the Starborn,
Yeah.
which I think makes a lot of sense. I think,
And I think that'll help Bryce understand more of who she is too
yeah.
through
And
them.
if the Starborn become like literal stars that can show up in worlds in the afterlife, because the Starborn princesses and those people that she mentioned, they're dead now. If they have that, then that also propels forward this theory that if Bryce dies, it might be a happy ending still. We might still see her as a star showing up places. The only thing that I don't like about that theory is that she makes it seem like it's the knife in this sword and knife prophecy is definitely Azrael's truth teller, which I do think we've seen a lot of. But if you watch Silver Flames, Nesta forges a new weapon in Silver Flames, like with her cauldron Lady Death powers. And I think it would be really interesting if the knife is the tool that Nesta made. Because we know that it's like it's supposed to be super fucking powerful and whatever. And give my girl Nesta a little bit of credit. But it's like, this couldn't have happened until now because the knife did not exist.
Right. That makes sense. These are all good. I'm just like, yep, sounds good. End of podcast. See ya.
Sounds
next
good.
Like, cool. I don't know if you have any left, but like at the end of the day, I think that Sarah, at this point, people have hyped up Throne of Glass crossover as well now so much. If Sarah doesn't do it, and we know Sarah has rewritten this whole book, like wrote the whole book, threw the whole book out and rewrote it, part of me just feels like it's gonna happen, and Sarah doesn't disappoint. Even when, like, we've said things about Crescent City, like, I don't know why House of Sky and Breath had to be one long scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
It was a little too long, but well written. Kind of feel that way about Throne of Glass right now. I'm like, this could have been one book, but, like, that's okay. Like, but she writes her characters so well, she's not going to mess this up.
Yeah.
This could
I
really
agree.
be the, like, her career. Like, this book could be like it. This is Avengers Endgame. Like, this is it.
I think no matter what happens, fans are going to be disappointed and fans are going to be well fed. Like, I think that she's going to give us something great, and I don't know if that's going to exactly line up with any of these theories. I would love to see some of the theories come true just because that's fun, but like, she's gonna give us something and it's going to be creative and amazing like the rest of her, series are. All right, I have I think 2 more.
Okay.
What up? My name is Maggie, and I know who's on the cover of Crescent City 3. This is not a theory account. I make memes, just here for the laughs. I have to say this. Obviously, there are Crescent City spoilers, so go away if you haven't read them. Anyway, if someone else has already said this, I'm sorry, I just haven't seen it. It's Ariadne. It's Ariadne. She's a dragon. What does this look like to you? Nostrils. This is a dragon head. This is a head
Look at
of a
it.
dragon. These are the nostrils. And the head, like a snout. It's a dragon. She's described in the book as having golden scales and eyes blood red crimson glowing like burning embers. Is that not what we're seeing here? She's got like literal fire all over her. And she made a deal with the Viper Queen. Is that not what this is? A viper? The snake? And there's fire. There's fire all around her. And I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Okay. I don't know why she would be so important. If you don't remember, she is the dragon that like Ethan frees from that like shitty sightseer guy. And kind of gives Ethan like, I don't know, he's such like a little like golden retriever boy. And sometimes I was like, why am I hearing from him right now? Like there's bigger, like the adults are talking, please shut up.
Yeah.
But she brought in this whole C plot, and we know that Hunt and Rune are gonna be going through the fucking ringer in these books and tortured, so we're not gonna spend like that much time with them. Like there's only so much, and I know she can, but there's only still so much you can write about torture. So I think that would be interesting if it's the dragon. I see the nostrils.
I remember that, and honestly, like that seemed like important too.
Yeah.
So who knows? Ooh, I like it.
Who knows? I just don't know why this dragon person would be so important, and it felt like to me as a fantasy bitch, if you're bringing dragons in, they should be like huge factors of the world. Like even the dragons in Throne of Glass are actually wyverns, and they're like made. They're not like natural dragons born.
I really just feel like that was a Sarah breadcrumb, and it could just blow up in this book. And Ethan and her story can become something we start just fully diving into.
Kind of like Rune and Lydia in Sky and Breath.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right,
final.
Yeah. Final theory of the day. This one is a doozy. It's similar to stuff we've talked about, but this one I think ties together something about Hunt's name that people have been talking about since book 1, and that I need answers for, and just seems like it fucking hits the nail on the head for everything we've been talking about today.
Okay, let's see it.
This is by Jordan the Grey.
You will learn more about Hunt and where he came in the next book. And as for his well-being, I make no promises.
Oh, I have had a theory about Hunt the entire time. And if you don't want spoilers, scroll now. This isn't for you. This isn't for you. If you haven't read all of Sarah J. Maas's books, scroll now. Spoilers are coming. Now, in Crescent City, right? We know what happens to Hunt at the end of House of Sky and Breath. I have a theory about what's going to happen to him. So we all know that Hunt is short for Hunter because Hunt's real name is Orion. Orion the Hunter. And if you know Greek mythology, which I do, you know what happens to Orion. This is the TLDR version of Orion and Artemis. So for those of you who aren't aware, the goddess Artemis fell into a entanglement with Orion the Hunter. Even though she was a maiden goddess and did not wed, it didn't mean that she didn't take lovers. And Orion was famously her lover, much to the dismay of her twin brother Apollo, god of the sun. So, in Greek mythology, and this is one of the many versions of the story, if you're interested, look up more of the myth. But in my favorite version of the story, Apollo becomes jealous of Artemis and Orion's relationship and tricks Orion to swim out into the sea, right? He then, Apollo, goes to his sister Artemis and says, there's a grapist in the sea. He was trying to grape one of your nymphs. And of course, the vengeful huntress goddess that she is runs to the shoreline, sees the perpetrator in the sea, unaware that it's her lover, draws her bow and strikes the target, killing Orion instantly. Stricken with grief, the goddess then takes her silver chariot to retrieve her lover's body from the sea. She then rides it into the sky to hang the constellation of Orion for all to see for all time, because she was so heartbroken that she had done that. Now that you know that, and you know that Hunt is named Orion and that his lover killed him, what do you think's gonna happen at the end of Crescent City 3?
This girl is adorable. She's a great
my gosh.
storyteller.
I know the music and everything. Like, I was transfixed in this video.
I was like, yeah, I couldn't
I-
hide. I was just like, okay.
Yeah,
Well, he's with. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Rune.
Yeah, like
They're kidnapped together.
I know. Do you think Rune Dannon is a bad boy?
I don't know. I don't think that Rune is actually going to become jealous. I think that there is a chance that I think if given the opportunity, Rune will try to save Lydia over Hunt. And if Rune gets brainwashed, that could happen. Or, like, we don't necessarily, like, she doesn't have to follow the myth completely. I think any idea of, like, Bryce going to save the day and ends up accidentally killing Hunt is fucking wild. I think that's so interesting. And then even if she ends up, like, fighting till she dies as well, like, I think a heartbreaking ending would be so, like, out of pocket for Miss Mass. I mean, like, there's definitely, like, I cried reading Kingdom of Ash. I'm not saying that she can't write a sad ending, because Aquawar is not sad. There is every single person who dies comes right back. But Aquawar is also fully romantasy. Like, that's just her, you know what I mean? Like, as much as I love that series,
I don't
it's
really
not
see that
as
in Crescent City. I feel more
Yeah.
the glass when I read, like, the vibe of that that writing style.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, it's
Crescent
horny.
City,
It's horny, but
it's
not,
horny. But it's still, I mean,
It's not
yeah.
like romancy.
it's not as heavy. I mean,
Yeah.
Bryce and Hunt don't have sex until book 2.
Mhm.
And I don't know. But how does Crescent City open, right? Crescent City starts with this, like, super traumatic fucking death
It
scene
does.
with Danica and all of that. And
Yes.
I feel like that could possibly, like, so with my little creative writing minor, there's this important thing for authors to, like, set the tone of the book and kind of, like, prep the reader.
Yeah.
Like, it would be super strange if you were reading a book and you thought it was, like, a fairy tale book, and then, like, it turns into a horror story. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to cross genres. You want to, like, give proper expectations and promises. And so if you know that your books typically don't have a heartbreaking ending like this, how are you going to start the first book in the series?
Right.
Put a heartbreaking, traumatic death in the very beginning. Make it also, because we haven't let go of Danica. Like, she was a huge, major player in Sky and Breath, dead
Right.
the entire time.
Yep.
And so if there is this big thing with the afterlife, and we do, I just think it would be super cool.
I think it'd be dope. I just think whatever she does, it's gonna be amazing.
I know.
And I'm really excited. Aubrey and I are going to, we at least plan on, going to the midnight release party. Our
Yes.
local Barnes & Noble is throwing one, so we'll be sure to vlog that.
Yeah,
And of
we're
course
super
the
excited.
book
There's only
review.
like 100 barns who are doing it. And ours got like picked or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe you
but-
had to be selected. So we're
Yeah.
lucky.
Yes, and then we will be reviewing Crescent City in 2 weeks' time. The book comes out this Tuesday, which is insane. We are going to be vlogging the whole thing. I'm not prepared. I'm not emotionally prepared. I'm getting the Kindle version after the release party. When I get home, I'm going to buy it, and I'm searching the word Aelin and spoiling the whole thing for myself.
You're
You
crazy.
will see that in the vlog. I have to.
I want to
I
know
have to.
nothing.
You want to know why? Because I know that there's bitches who are going to get the book on their Kindle and they are going to read for the entirety of that day on Tuesday. I think I'm going to have to take off work. I think I need to like put in my PTO right now.
Yeah.
They're going to read for the entirety of Tuesday. They're going to finish the book. They're going to skim. They're not going to read every word. They're going to skim and they're going to start posting about it. There's also bitches who've had the book for a week now because like fucking Walmart's putting the book out on their shelves.
Yeah, they did
And
that
they're
for
gonna
Iron
spoil it.
Flame.
They're going to post videos. Already like got to be careful. I was trying to find these theory videos of people who have the book already. I don't want it spoiled for me because I did have the Reese moment spoiled for me
Yeah.
at the end.
I don't want it spoiled, so I will not be talking to Aubrey next week. And I think I'm going. My mom pre-ordered it through Amazon to my house for Christmas, so I'm not gonna buy it that night. But I may get it on Audible or my Kindle for that reason.
Yeah.
So I can just read it right away, and because I have a full-time job, I can listen to it while I'm at work.
Yes.
So,
Honestly.
stay tuned for that, guys. We just know that there's good things coming. So with that being said,
Yes.
please subscribe, so you can be
That button.
notified when all of our Crescent City content comes out. Let us know your theories, your reactions, your feelings. Have you read all the books? What is your favorite series out of all of hers? Like I love asking people that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was so excited. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us and happy reading.